Great. So this is the Cashbook session. Just in case your signal drops out, just log off and log back on. I'll do the same because the weather's rather blustery where I am. And sometimes it does drop out, but I'm hoping and praying. If you have any questions, because we're such a small group, do feel free to ask things as they come up. I'll leave some time in between the slides as well, so we can discuss any concerns or queries that you have. But also we'll leave a bit of time at the end. So just some quick objectives of what I'd like to get out of these sessions. We'll just mention the PCC's legal duties as to where this sits and the fundamentals which underpin the finances in churches. It's not just the treasurer's responsibility to do all this. Obviously, the cash book we're looking at a focus on, and it's about keeping proper records to show we're accounting properly for everything. Going to touch on Church of England and Charity Commission requirements. We'll discuss low-cost options, which is using the spreadsheets. I've got two bits of software to have a quick look at. And then at the end, it's really about thinking about choosing what is the best fit for your church and your circumstances. But I think it's really important that we're reminded as treasurers, although we undertake the day-to-day, we must be supported by our PCC members because ultimately it's the responsibility of the whole PCC to get this right. Ultimately, the PCC are responsible for keeping proper accounting records, preparing the annual accounts and reports, arranging the independent examination and audit. And if anything goes wrong, it must actually be reported to the Charity Commission. But I know a lot of the time, day to day, as treasurers, we end up with these tasks and the onus put on us. But it is a joint responsibility here. These tasks are only delegated to us, so it's really important we remember not to shoulder the entire burden on ourselves as treasurers. It is the ultimate responsibility of the PCC members. And I put the word trustees in there because whenever we think about Charity Commission and the Charities Act, they use the term trustees, but they're the same thing. So we're here today to look specifically at cash books, and it's all ultimately just a diary. Think of it a financial diary of your day-to-day transactions. So it needs to capture all your financial transactions, everything that's coming in, everything that's going out, and then it needs to record your cash and your bank balance as well. You need to include in your cash book all bank balances. So whether you have several current accounts, a deposit account, a savings account, a shares account. You need a system that will record all of those and the transactions because we need to be able to determine what money the church has at that given time. And a good system means you can stay accountable, or as a PCC, we're accountable to our congregations, to the diocese, I guess, in a way, and certainly to the state as the Charity Commission, because we need to comply with the Charities Act. I don't want to go into this too much, but it's just to give you an idea, really, of the legislation that falls upon us. So we have the Church of England, the church representation rules, and I'm providing this, as I say, for information only. You don't need to know the detail. It's just so you're informed of the legal requirements. But PCCs are bound by the church representation rules and give guidance on what we need to report at the end of the year. So if you look just on the left-hand side there, it mentions Rule M5, and that's what states the arrangements of your annual meeting. You've heard the term APCM. Whether you've been doing this for years and presenting to your APCM, or whether this is your first year as treasurer, that will come round in the annual cycle. And there it mentions we need to prepare the financial statements. Rule M30 as well mentions about the arrangements for independent examination or audit. I think from who's on the call as well, we're all small churches here, so we're not in audit territory. We can manage with just a simple examination. But as part of that process, your examiner is going to want access to your records and your documents, which will be your cash book. The other side of that is the state regulation, so the Charities Act. And under that, section 130, you will see this quoted on your examination reports. The charity trustees, i.e. the PCC members, must ensure that accounting records are kept, and we must be able to explain all the charity's transactions. So that's what underpins what we do. And this charity accounting, now, as I say, most of us churches are quite small. Everyone on this call today, I'm hoping, is using cash accounting, also known as receipts and payments, where basically you only need to record the money coming in and when it goes out of the account. So you don't need to worry about accounting periods or things like that, using financial jargon. So this, it's not a great image on here, but this is what the Charity Commission recommend you use. And it's really important to get an overview, because ultimately your cash book is going to enable you to report, should be able to help you report in the required format. Okay, so you can see here that it's listed in columns by funds. Now, it may be the case that your church only has a general fund, one bank account with no extra funds, and that would be your unrestricted funds. But it could be that you get a bequest or a grant given, and it comes with terms and conditions that you can only use for a particular purpose. And then it would be a restricted fund, and we need to be able to account for that separately. So it's not all, your system needs to be able to cope with not only day-to-day income and expenditure, but it needs to cope for different pots of money or funds, as we call them, and it needs to be managed then. There's a column there for endowment funds, but that might not apply to your church. Not all churches have endowments sat, but that is the required format by the Charity Commission, and that is certainly the recommended format that the Church of England use it. You can find this under the CC16 guidance on the Charity Commission website, but I always just refer PCCs and treasurers to what I call the Green Book. There's a PCC accountability guide. Number of years ago, we sent copies to every parish. So if you haven't got a copy, ask if there's one in the parish. Otherwise, there is a link to a PDF version on the diocese website under Admin of Parish Finances, which I just often refer to be honest. I just type it into a search engine and it brings up the accountability guide. It's really helpful for looking at an example of how to lay out the end of year accounts, but also in there is a handy table as to how to categorize your income and expenditure as well. And we'll have a look at how that works on a spreadsheet. I've realized though I've talked quite fast through that, but that's because I want to get onto the practical elements, if that's okay. But I'm just wondering at this point, do you have any questions on the legislation or anything like that, what we've covered so far? Do feel free to unmute and speak up. If not, I can get moving on. Okay. So we'll look at Cashbook options here. Now, I'm assuming if you're here, you perhaps want to move on from a paper-based system. But if you've been running a very small church and working with limited technology, a paper Cashbook can still be a practical tool to use. You often see the Red Collins Cathedral Analysis book, and you have your paper bank statements, and it's absolutely fine to keep using that system. This is the best image I could find here on this slide. You can see it has a date, a description, income and expenditure, and then you have a balance at the end. But the Collins Analysis book actually has more columns. I just couldn't find a decent image of the columns, but it meets most of our needs. If we are operating in a small church, but churches, I feel, are getting more complex in the fund management and the way we have to manage it, hence the need to maybe move to something a little bit more sophisticated than this. So it's the downsides of, well, the positives is it's simple. You don't need any fancy devices, no IT, pen, paper, and a calculator, you will be fine. But it is manual, time consuming, easy to add up things wrong. If you've missed a line out, yeah, it creates a bit of a mess on your paper. Get the Tipp-Ex out. But you can actually see it's all on one page if you've had to make any adjustments. And the thing for me, for the limitations of a paper-based cash book is the reporting. It's really hard to generate summaries to your PCC, and certainly your end of year report, it's a big workaround. You need to create another document to total and summarized everything. I don't think paper-based is a risk. It could easily be lost or damaged, and then you've got to start all over again. So if you're looking to move on from that, that is absolutely fine. And I also think you might have to hand it over to somebody at some point. I think people are looking more comfortable now with digital options. But if you do need help transitioning from paper to something electronic like a spreadsheet or a system, it is easier than you think. These systems now are designed to be intuitive. And the key thing is to just get started and start practicing. So the most popular option I see now is spreadsheets, where treasurers have set up their own. And the advantage is that is most people use it at work now. If you've had a professional job, you'll be used to the format of Microsoft Office. And if you have a Microsoft-based system, Excel will come often on it. And then I've seen a few treasurers now moving to Google Sheets, which is free. And you can design a spreadsheet to suit your needs. You can use the formulas to add up everything, so you've no longer got that manual calculation, and risk of error. Everything's in one place. There are loads of templates as well online. We'll have a look at a template in a minute. And you can save it to the cloud now, be it obviously Google Sheets on a Google account, or Microsoft use OneDrive, so you can access it from any device. But the disadvantages is there's still risk of errors, and you still need to manually input everything into it. Easy to knock out formulas. I'm sure we've all had cases where we've got some spreadsheet horror stories, which aren't great. I'm ashamed to say that on our guided pledge model, which I'm sure all PCCs will be discussing now, and when them guided pledges went out, I myself created some manual input errors on the Excel sheet. You do have to be so careful of what you put in. I know the government has a long history of embarrassing errors, huge errors, and implications based on spreadsheet risk. So I know we're not running a country, we're just running a church on our spreadsheets, but it's just to be aware really of where things can go wrong. We'll look at specialist software, and you will see how easy it is to link to bank accounts and auto categorize items. Again, things that still have to be done manual in the spreadsheet. One thing that often catches us out with spreadsheets is if you edit it, you need to make sure you're saving down the correct version as well. Version control could get out of hand, or if something goes wrong, you need to be able to go back to your previous version and save it down. You still need some knowledge as well to use Excel. We all have varying degrees of experience with spreadsheets. I've seen people do some fantastic things that are way beyond my remit and knowledge with it. Yeah, and files need to be updated because they can't be lost. But it is a great tool if you have a small church. It will do everything you need, and we'll have a look at that example in a minute. But high end, if you want to go all bells and whistles, you're looking at a bit of specialist software for your church. And these systems are great. They are designed specifically for churches in mind and charities to use. They make it really easy to manage different funds. A lot of it can be automated as well. So if you have regular transactions, you know, when you get your regular direct debits out, your regular standing orders coming in, all those can be automated. Generates reports at the press of a button. I love that facility. You can have multiple users. So if you're on the great position of maybe it's one person doing the bookkeeping and another doing the cashing up, the person doing the cashing up can log on and import. It doesn't need to be left to just one person to do the import, and you can set permissions around those. If you're a large church and you have something like a donor management or a gift aid system, they integrate, which is wonderful. Everything's cloud-based. I grabbed the top image here of Expense Plus. That's a software provider. And they're demonstrating that you can use their software anywhere from a desktop to a mobile phone. Okay, they're designed to be user-friendly. Now, the downside of a bit of specialist software, you're going to have to invest in your IT. You're going to have to be up to date. That could be initial cost. There's ongoing monthly charges for these systems. No doubt you're going to need a bit of training. So that's going to be a lot of investment and possibly a bit of money to get up and running in the first place. And we do need to be careful about which system we use, because actually not all of them are great at producing those fund accounting. And we've always still got that risk of error. It depends what we put into the system as to whether it's correct or not, because just the sheer nature of manually input numbers. Yeah, the amount of times I've had fat fingers and put in a wrong digit. We've all been there, haven't we? So what I like to do now is just go through some systems, starting with Excel. As I say, there's plenty templates online, but we have one we devised as a team that I'm going to show you as a working example. I'll put it onto full screen. I really appreciate the limitations as well around Excel on a Zoom call. So I'm hoping everyone can kind of see this okay. I wonder if I can zoom in any closer. To lose the Zoom bar. All right. So this is just a spreadsheet that we've devised that will help you record all of your transactions. As we said, that's the main purpose of your cash book. So it is a place where you can input your date, the transaction, any references, and these are all automated columns here, which we will demonstrate in a minute. But you start by entering your bank balance that is on your latest bank statement. And this is from the beginning of the year. So enter your opening bank statement. And I'm hoping you can see here, if I scroll along, I mentioned briefly earlier about categorizing, because we need to think about how we're reporting at the year end. We will be expected to report, well, summarize the range of transactions that we have. Okay, so we have several different types of income coming into church. It's not all just donations. I'm not going into too much detail, but remember when we have the return of parish finance, if you've experienced that return, they've just kind of gone in the summer. It's an annual turn to the Church of England. They ask for what's your plan giving, what's your collections been, what she gifted, recovered, any legacies. So this really helps report all of those elements. And in fact, where we've put numbers in under these categories, they refer directly to the return of parish finance. So it's thinking about what do we need to record and input to help us report at the end of the year and to do the statistical return. About trying to keep it as simple as possible. So there's lots of columns in here, but if you had a paper-based cash book, it would be the same with lots of columns. I'll just scroll along. Now, all of these different types of income may not apply to your church. You might not have hall rental. You may not have magazine income, and that is fine. You just tailor it to suit you. And the beauty of this is as well, some churches run multiple funds. So in this example, there's a fabric fund that the church has, and that's a restricted fund. And that manages that money within its current account as well. So that's all your income. And then if you had expenditure, these are your categories of expenditure that you may need to record against. As I say, not everybody has a church home. So you may not even need those columns. You just tailor it to how it needs it. But this is just an example of the wonders of Excel.
Samantha, could I ask a
Yes.
question, please?
Please.
The columns, if you don't use them, I can hide them, I know, but if I deleted them, would that mess up the formulas around and
Yeah,
about?
that's one thing to think of, isn't it? When we're using spreadsheets and they get more complex, we need to be checking the formulas. So if you're making any adjustments like that to a template you're using, do have a look. If you delete a column out, do have a look at the impact of that, because we're going to have a look at how it feeds through to a reporting sheet as well. And if it does knock everything out, well, we need to go back to that's where some Excel knowledge comes in. Do we rewrite the formula, or do we do something alternative like hide it? I think that's one thing you need to be aware of when you do make adjustments and there's formulas in there. It is really easy to knock it out of sync, and then as I say, we get those spreadsheet horror stories. Oh, it's all gone wrong. No, fair point, Joyce. That's just the practicalities, isn't it, of working with Excel. Yes, confession. I have designed this, so if it's not, if it doesn't meet your more needs, get back to me and I can see if I can make some adjustments to make it practical. But I'm not an expert in Excel. This is just a basic tool that would suit most small parishes without the major investment of some software solution. We'll just input some transactions just to get a feel at how it works. So I'd put the date in. Yes, and Joyce, of course, you've been using this, so you now be the expert when it comes to this spreadsheet.
Wouldn't say that.
So if you've got your church collections, Sunday, see, not many churches are doing cash now, are they? Say if you get simply £100 in, okay, that's Sunday morning, and yeah, £70 of it was in your envelopes. Well, that's plan giving, and a tenner was on the plate, loose plate collections, and then maybe somebody I'd give you what else do we get randomly thrown at us on a Sunday morning? Magazines. They'd sold £20 worth of magazines that week. You can split out that £100. You can see it's added up to £100 there across the categories that you need. So that money has hit. You've taken that Sunday collection, you've banked it, and it's increased our bank balance. But you've been able to categorize your income. A funeral always catches people out, funerals, because there's that many elements of the fees. Do let me take the opportunity to cover that one. So say if there's a funeral, you put a reference in. I just always use the name of the person who's passed away. And again, when you come in and find what on earth has gone in through the week, you go, right, there was £62 for the collection. Maybe they had a generous collection for the church, that funeral service. And then you will find an element of the fees. So whether your funeral director pays you by check or backs, is it? There'll be an element of PCC fee, but there's an element as well of the DBF fee, which doesn't, it obviously doesn't belong to the PCC, allows you to split it. So in whole, and as well, you may actually have like a heating fee in there. I don't know if the £130, let's say it's 132 DBF and plus £50 for heating. And this is where your knowledge of Excel comes in. So if I go equals, it will add £50 to the 132. Okay. So totally into the bank for that funeral was 381, and we can see how it was split between the different categories. Now we're going to get to the end of the month. I'm going to pay my DBF fees for January out to the DBF. It's always when I'm on a Zoom call, isn't it? Everybody walks through the house. I do apologise. So when you pay your money out to the DBF, you can see you've got £137 to pay out. So 137, I'm going to minus it out of that column, and you can see it's taken £137 out of my bank account. In fact, I should, whether you do a backs to the diocese or whether you're still sending checks, you can just note it in there for reference. But what it is doing here is adding up. You can add rows as well. I'll just scroll to the bottom. I'm hoping you can see, I'll see it fine. It's adding up at the bottom your totals. Okay. Now, I just wanted to do a quick example of a grant as well, in case it's split between. So say you were awarded a church's trust fund grant. They do emergency grants for your porch. Okay, let's have a look. So your grant would come in to, say you've been awarded £1,000 for repairs to your porch. Okay. And then that gets done in the 5th of February. 5th of the 2nd, 2025. Okay, and you will notice here it's changed it to the month. That is an automated column that has changed it to your month, and I'll see why that's relevant because it feeds through reporting. So porch work. Right, now say the bill for the porch work could have been 1,200, so more than £1,000. So we've got our £1,000 that went into our grants for restricted. But now we need to pay it out. We need to log it as a payment out. So I'm going to scroll along. See, this is the thing with spreadsheets. You get huge long columns, but it's to record everything we need in one place. So we paid out our £1,000 from the grant we had, but we've had to take £200 out of our general account. Okay, so the total bill was 1,200. We should really put an invoice number in there, shouldn't we? So we know how to find it. Okay, and because we've paid it out, you might put a check reference in as well if you've paid it by check. What's the next run on check? 22. It's reduced your bank balance. But what it is doing is then tallying up your total income and expenditure. Now, I've designed this one. So if you're running more than one bank account, this has got another a Cashbook sheet on it. So that's helpful. I'm not going to go through every sheet on this Cashbook, but I've tried to build in some automated reporting for PCCs. So we're able to give some information. So while we've been adding that data into that first Cashbook sheet, it is fed through to a report. You've got our income and expenditure for January summarising there. So it's a quick overview of Are we doing all right? Are we spending are we spending more than we've got in? And this is okay. We've got money in the bank at the end of the year. Um, I'm just going to run through these quickly, really. Again, this is another report that we've built in, which I'm hopeful is useful to smaller churches. Most meet 4 times a year, so I've done it by quarter, but you can actually unhide the columns, and what it will do is split it into months as well, depending on your needs. So you can see there total receipts. I'll just close that again. Total receipts come in just from that data that we've input so far. It's totaled up. We know we've had £402 in this year so far, and then further down the sheet is our costs. I'm designed this so you can print it out as well. If your church has a budget, you can track a budget on, but you just use it. But where is handy as well, it feeds into a year-end report. So as I said, when you're doing a manual Cashbook transaction, you're having to create a set of accounts from your manual cash book. It's the beauty of using a spreadsheet is you can build in formulas and it will pull everything through to your year-end reporting as well. So here it is summarising a year-end report for a smaller church. So we'll just have a look. You can see where we put the grant in. The grant is fed through to our restricted fund column there. And if we look at the expenditure when we did that fictional porch work, the £1,000 has come out of our payments and church running costs. And then that was the £200 we took out the general account, the unrestricted money. So we know in all our porch repair this year has cost us £1,200, and it gives you excess of receipts and payments as well. There is a statement of assets and liabilities which should accompany your year-end report. I'll not go into that much detail on this. We do have a video on the Durham Diocese Treasury training pages where we look at year-end reporting in more detail if that's of interest to you. But I really just wanted to give you an overview of what a spreadsheet is capable of. When you've got your formulas and things in, it does
Can
take a
I
bit
ask a
of skill.
question, please?
Yes,
Yeah,
please, Junior.
employees.
Yes.
Now you've got under church activities, clergy and staffing costs. But would that include a caretaker or an administrator?
Yes, it would, because it's all staffing. You
Right, so it
can.
wouldn't
The
it
beauty.
wouldn't go yeah, it wouldn't go under the like hall expenses. You know, the caretaker
Right,
actually
I see. I see.
isn't the
Yes.
hall.
Yeah, the nuances of where do we code things to?
Yes,
Well, usually staffing is staffing. It's your wage bill. I always find it helpful to go back to, if we have a look at that cash book, your sheets
yep,
here, because these feed into the RPF. So you think, well, what do we need to report at the end of the year? Yeah, and you're right. You have like hall running costs, don't you? Cost of trading.
yeah,
I think for all wages, I would be looking to there salaries and salaries. It's a salary, isn't it? Regardless of whether it's for the hall or not. Yeah, I mean it depends as well how you set up your accounts. Do you have like a hall as a designated fund? Do you so you can track essentially your receipts and your payments for your hall? So, you know, is your hall costing your church? Are we getting enough in to cover the true costs of the hall?
yes. We need to do that so that
Yeah,
we can work out how how much we charge for our fees, for our rent, and things like
exactly.
that. So we need to
Mhm.
track those costs. Yeah.
I mean, the beauty of that is if you were to do that, you put hall caretaker, and then salary in there. What was it? I wouldn't salary. There's that many columns, isn't it? as you get more familiar with it. If you use the same, what you can do is then filter on, say, your whole cost, and take out the blanks, and then you look down your column as you get a few more entries in there, and then it's a bit of a visual to go, actually, is our haul costing us? That's a simple way to do it. It's coming out your general fund. Or if you're setting up a spreadsheet, you could see how we've split it here. We've created another fund within our system, so it's tracking. You could easily have that as like your whole fund, unrestricted, but you'd have to see how your formulas are feeding through to your reporting. And this is where Excel has its limitations of, if your church finances are getting complicated and you have lots of funds, several bank accounts. Now we're in the circumstances where we have larger parishes, so we may have actually more than one church we're managing. Then the next best thing is going to be a bit of specialist software. So if you're happy, I'll now bring up some software solutions that we can have a look at. Has anybody got any questions on that? Thanks for that, Julie. I appreciate it. Real life examples of what we've got to deal with. All right, I'll move on and share the screen. Oh, I'm hoping you can all see that now. Welcome to My Fund Accounting. This is a system designed by Organisation Data Developments. They had a desktop-based system for many years, finance coordinator, very popular in the diocese, but now they've stopped supporting that and everything has gone cloud-based. So this has been in use for a few years now. Some very glamorous looking people doing treasury, and here that's great. Basically, you set up your church or your parish. I've set up mine here, someone's parish, down diocese. You can add several churches. It will come up with which parish you're using as well. This is the beauty of it. The more churches you need to manage, this system will cope with it. I'll not go into everything. This is a quick view. It's designed to cope with a lot. But the fundamentals of what we need to record our income, record our expenditure, and then be able to produce reports. So say we were to our day-to-day recording. Okay, so start of the year, new financial year, and we want to record our first income. So we've been to the bank and we have banked our first collection. I like round numbers, it keeps it simple for me. Our first collection of the Sunday, you could put the deposit slip number in there, description, Sunday collection, January week 1. Okay. And our income, say, is quite often for those Sunday collections made up of several components. So we get to select here, as we went along in columns in the spreadsheet, we get to select here. It's a drop-down menu, but it's coded in very similar way to the Return of Parish Finance system, which is really helpful for us. It allows you to select which fund as well. So whether you're putting it to your buildings fund or your general fund. Okay, and it wasn't a total, although we banked £100, all of our £100 was not made up of just gift aid giving. Only £50 was. Okay, so I'm going to store. I've been pressed store and you can see it's dropped into the bottom. Okay, it's totaled up £50. So what I can do is go add new element. So it recognizes our £100 there, and we're still having to make up the giving. So the church collection now. Okay, and the other £50 of that 100 was come from church collections. Okay. Store again. Now, because it's matched, we have our 50 and our 50 is equal to 100. And that's what we said we were depositing. It's now given me the option to post and confirm that transaction. So I'm happy. We've input everything and we just click post. And it gives you an audit trail transaction number. Okay. The beauty of such a system is when we have our regular transactions. So say Mrs. Smith, who is a generous giver, I'm giving, has a direct debit sat up every month, right? Which is £75. Never changed for the last few years. Maybe we need a word about a reviewing a giving. You know what it's like, we have those regular standing orders. So a £75 comes into the bank. It's a gift aid giving. She signs it to the general fund again. It is £75, and that's how it matches. Okay. Now it's given us the option. Do we post this? But there's a nice little option we can memorize and post. Okay. So if we click memorize and post, we can put Mrs. Smith's standing order in there and we can save that down. Text already used. Oh, I must have used this example before. Okay, it's given us our audit trail for our transaction. It's posted it. It's taken us to our input transaction screen again. But say, right, next month, we're doing the same transactions. We can recall transactions we've already posted. Okay, so there's Mrs. Smith too with a standing order we already done. We select that. It's input directly and we just go post. I absolutely love that about this system. Then we're not just input. And it's the same principle as well if we go back to expenditure. Okay, bank current account. Say you're on £130 a month for insurance. If you're paying it by check, you can put a check there. Pay it by often direct debit, isn't it? Direct debit, insurance. You can select the supplier if you need. Expenditure. Oh, top one. That's lucky. You can scroll down and select others. When you set up your system, you can decide what account names you're using. Happy that it's coming from the general fund. In fact, let's just mix it up a bit. Let's say we're a bit short in the general fund and we need to put it to buildings because these things happen. Store. Okay, happy that it matches. We post it. Right. And again, you can use that memorize post for that. Nice handy thing here. You can go in, list all transactions. So if I scroll down, you can see everything we've just done there. So if you need to go back, if you've made a mistake, you can reverse it. Love that feature because we're only human. So that's handy. Quick glance of all your descriptions. Say this system is capable of so much. You just don't have the time nor the talent to go into it, but I'll get into it. This is the next bit I think is just amazing about these things is reporting. Is it going to let me scroll down? Analysis of income and oh, hang on a second, my Zoom thing's in the way. Analysis of, see, there's that many options. You have to just spend some time exploring it. Okay, so analysis of receipts and payments. We're going to look at what we've put in this year. Oh, it gives you different options for reporting it. I like to round things up. I don't know about you. It's just much easier on the eyes. Preview. Allow me preview it as a PDF or download your reports. So I'm hoping that I'm still on shared screen and you can see that okay. I'm hoping it's come to Saint Someone's analysis of receipts and payments. And there you go. at a click of a button, it is giving us all those transactions we've put in instantly. We don't have to worry about deleting a formula or anything when we use something like this. And it will also do your year-end reports just exactly the same, which is great. Let me make sure I can get back into that. Analysis of receipts and payments. Okay, so when you get your annual financial statements, it will just select. You need to make sure you select in the right format, but luckily it leads us to the obvious Church of England receipts and payments. As I say, most of us are on receipts and payments. I'm all for keeping things simple. Don't need to worry about a balance sheet. We just need a statement of assets. This one will include some charts and graphs as well, and all the other information you could ever want. Will it let me do this on a trial account, actually? I've just thought we'll give it a go. And it will run a Word document for you. I might have to just move on to my Word document to show you. It has then put it in a Word document for you, so you can then like copy in your annual report, type the name of your parish, edit it how you want to. But that's essentially your year-end reporting. It's great as well when we've got churches now registered with the Charity Commission and we're having to those statements are now up there in the public domain and it's all in the required format. It will follow on by a statement of assets. But yeah, I give you some fancy graphs as well, which are all helpful for people understanding our accounts. Now, data developments are coming in on the 3rd of October to go through that system in detail. So if you can get along to that, if that's something you're interested in, do join us for an in-depth view by the experts. My knowledge is limited on it, but there's plenty users in the diocese as well, if that is something you're interested in using and want to have a practical example of how it looks.
Could I ask a question, please?
Yes, please, Joyce.
The reports are coming through, it's great. But like in last year, I had the rather odd situation where it was a Friday late afternoon. I was the only signatory available, and the roof repairers said, we want £1,400 now, or we won't put the scaffolding up on Monday. And so I was in the fortunate position I could loan the church the money, I paid it, and then got it back the week after. But it does look strange in the accounts where, it said Joyce made loan of 1,400. So I wanted to put a note just at the end of the line saying, well, this was because, and that situation. Is that something that comes into the reports at the end,
Well,
what would you look for?
if you put a note on, depending on what system you use. So if you use like data developments there where you generated a report into a Word document, you can type that up. That's fine. You could put a note on your spreadsheet for your independent examiner. Yeah, your spreadsheets, you can type into spreadsheets, you can do text as well.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's the last column for the
do
notes.
use the notes. Yeah, on that template we've been going through the example, you can use yeah, on the statement of assets and liabilities tab, Joyce, on the bottom there's a facility for notes to the accounts.
Right.
You could put that in because yeah, people are going to go, well, why's the church had a loan? Yeah, it's helpful. It's just been a timing issue. The things we do as treasurers, isn't it? But thanks for that choice. You're right, it's the practicalities. I'll just quickly whiz through this one as well in the so I'm not being biased against just one system. This is Liberty Accounts, also well used in the diocese. They've set me up with a trial account. Very different look and feel to it. Very modern thing. It's give you these fancy graphs and some headlines. Okay, but it is a different way of inputting, and this uses a lot more accounting terminology. But mostly we deal with donations, so we're adding donations. I'll just go with my Mrs. Smith example again. She's very generous to church. And deposit to, if we've had money coming into a current account from Mrs. Smith. It gives you this category. It will track what you can claim and what you can't claim. So it forms a gift aid record for you. Slightly different feel to this one. You click add item and say, again, Mrs. Smith is very generous with her giving. Fund, general fund. When you do your setup, you can set up what funds what your church has. You can set up department and activity as well, depending on how complex your churches are. So, Julie, I'm just thinking if you were, in your example, you would set up a department as perhaps church hall. Say we've put in the amount, the information about the donation, and we save that down as well. And then again, it's just that the thing of we've posted, we confirm donation added, it pops up and then it goes on to your next donation. If you've got any other receipts as well, it's the same kind of thing. So say church hall, going into your current account, you can add customer details as well. It goes a bit above and beyond this system, but let's say you had some rent for your church hall. Oh, that's account. Church. I'm just thinking there, that looks like a receipt. Hall. Now, interesting how we're adding receipt, and this comes up as expenditure or income, I'd put. I mean, it's not been set up when you set up your accounts when you first get your system, but all of the software providers are used to working with churches. So whenever you purchase one of these systems, you will, part of the agreement is advice and guidance. Sorry, it's asking me for account. You've got to go with one that's selected. See, I select there and it comes with the, it is income, isn't it? Trust me to pick rent. Let's go for rent. We're only doing examples. Okay. And then once you're happy, go into the rent account, gross amount for £50 in. So very similar to the data development ones, very similar. Reports, lots of different report styles on here. I like income by account, income and expenses. So you just pick your dates, what you want, get it to generate a PDF, view the report. I'm hoping you can see that okay. Has it come up with a report by account on a web page? So it gives you all the detail when you're looking at your transactions. There, I'll just scroll down. Reports as well for your year end, statement of financial activity. Generate that. And it gives you everything in front of you here on the screen. This is a nice feature of this. So everything that's coming today, unrestricted, restricted funds total. And you can scroll down and see your fund totals. And it comes up as a PDF. if you need to report that. That is a great report. Everything again at the click of a button, all your reporting, no manual workaround. You can inform your PCC there. Then so it's only a quick look because they are much of a muchness. These systems that they have advantages and disadvantages to each, but in principle, each software provider should give you a free demo, usually about a month long. So we've looked at the data developments, Liberty accounts, there's Expense Plus as well. But things that are really important to consider is how many funds you have having to manage, how many bank accounts do you have. The more complex your finances, the more you're going to probably need a bit of specialist software, or can you manage with a spreadsheet demo. Give it a go before you fully commit. Try without buying, especially with Liberty accounts and data developments. They definitely give you your month free trial. Pick a system that you're going to be comfortable with. It needs to be suitable for those who aren't, or those of us who aren't accounting. We're going to need to set some time aside. Any system that you're changing to set it up, and in some investment there as well. If you're reporting, the reporting can be a bit time consuming if you're using something manual, but for the bespoke systems, it's all built in there. Yeah, and cost. Think about the cost as well. These systems are generally £15 a month. I don't think that's an awful lot of money to be investing in our treasury function. At £15 a month, everything's there. It's a lot of time saving as well on these systems. So we've got My Fund Accounting, which we had a look at. Brief look at Liberty accounts, as you said, it does much of the same, just in a different style. The benefits of these systems as well, they often integrate into different things. So if you're running a payroll, Liberty accounts is great for that. Well, My Fund Accounting offers payroll as well, and Expense Plus is a popular one. Church is still using Paxton. Paxton's been around for a long time as well. Now, in your professional life, you may have used Sage or Xero or QuickBooks. That's very popular with professional bookkeepers. If you do choose to use something like that, bear in mind that to create a charity-specific set of reports, there's sometimes a bit of workaround needed to squeeze it into the fund account and reporting. No, those systems don't necessarily have the inbuilt features to report in the Charity Commission format, which we just looked at in My Fund Accountant and Liberty accounts. So I appreciate that's just a quick run through, really, and a sample of systems that you can opt for. If you do want to look at it further, do drop me a line. I'll help as much as I can. But I've got Stephen Hendy coming up from Data Developments to look at more detail in the My Fund Accounting one, purely because a lot of churches have used the desktop version and now moving to that online system now. So if you can get along on Friday, the 3rd, that would be wonderful to see you in person. I must note as well, we've got a session with the diocesan secretary for treasurers to come together to ask questions. I'm hoping to provide plenty, an autumn tea. Let's get together for scones and coffee on the Wednesday, and we're going to talk all parish share, the challenges you're facing, how we can help. If you can come along to that session, it will be wonderful to meet you in person. It's been absolutely ages since we've done something together as treasurers. So that would be lovely if you could join us. That I do not want to be sat on my own with the diocesan secretary, as lovely as James is. I will end the recording there. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to stay on and ask any questions, I am more than willing to take them. Thank you.